What's up, y'all? This is Bud Elliott of the Cover 3 podcast at Bud Elliott3 on Twitter. If you are watching this, I really appreciate it. It's the last week of this show. We've had a tremendous year, 60% against the spread, 268 and 178, 90 games, over 500. Why do we do it? Well, we want to hit them early. That's kind of, for me, the difference between, 60% and maybe 50%, or excuse me, not 50, good Lord, 55% or so. Anyway, made a whole bunch of money for everybody this year. I hope if you are a subscriber to my email list, budelliottcfb@gmail.com, you already have my numbers, but this is where I give a little more commentary on what I'm taking, maybe where I think the market might move, etc. So let's go ahead and get into this. Couple things here. Number one, I discuss games in rotation number order unless I say different. So the first one I actually want to hit is one that is not rotation number order, but I am playing Notre Dame minus 16 at Stanford. Notre Dame minus 16 at Stanford is a pretty silly line. I think Stanford has kind of quit. Cal ran for 350 yards on them yesterday. So Notre Dame minus 16 at Stanford for me is one I'm going to jump out of order for rotation number. DraftKings has that. Circa has that. I think WinBet has that as well. Go ahead and hit that if you are there. That number, I mean, good God. I think that number, I would bet it to 21. And honestly, I'd be tempted to bet that even heavier, even if it got to 21. But I'm disciplined that I will stick with my numbers. Next one I'm playing. Let's go back to rotation number order. Let's play 103 Western Michigan. I am going to play that under 63.5. DraftKings. See what else am I taking here in real time. All right. Fresno, San Jose State is the next one on my list. I'm passing on Ball State and Buffalo, at least for now. Passing on Ole Miss, Mississippi State. Fresno and San Jose State. I'm going to go ahead and take the 9 here. I really have not been super impressed with Fresno's offense down the stretch. With the QB back for San Jose State, I think there's some value all the way to about 7.5. So, yeah, that's what I'm looking for right there. Let me see some other ones. Cool. There's that. I'm also going to play Bowling Green, getting 6 points against Ohio, and that is 115. I'm going to go to 117 here now. Rotation number order 117, and I'm going to take Eastern Michigan getting the 9 points. Personally, I just think that's many. I think this number again should be more like 7, ish. So I'd probably play that to 7.5. Okay, I'm going to pass on Boise and San Diego State. The next one I'm going to take here, I don't really get this line. I'm going to go ahead and play. I'm going to play Kansas State plus the 2, guys. Kansas State has already had to play with the backup quarterback this year. Texas has both quarterbacks banged up right now, and I trust Chris Kleiman a hell of a lot more than I trust Steve Sarkisian. So anyway, I appreciate you guys jumping on over to this feed. Again, if you want all my numbers early, especially for next year, budelliottcfb@gmail.com. I usually email them out about 1:30 or so. So we may have a few adjustments today for certain coaches who are getting fired today. Anyway, let's sorry about that. Sorry about that. All right. So next one we're going to hit here. Let's take a look at Utah State and New Mexico. I'm going to go ahead and play the 13 here with Utah State. I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but New Mexico had to play literally a student manager at quarterback yesterday, which is really not what you want to do, ideally. And I'm also going to play the under 55. I think is the best number out there right now from WinBet. And it's gone. So can't actually hit that. All right. Never mind on that. I only want to give you guys stuff you can actually bet, not fakery. Iowa, Nebraska. I'm going to go ahead and play Iowa here. I know Iowa is like not that great, but why is Why is Nebraska giving 4 points to Iowa? Like, why are 3.5s out there now? What? Sorry, I'm just gonna if you give me a field goal plus a hook with Iowa, I'm gonna go ahead and take that. I don't trust Nebraska quite that much. Yeah, if you guys can get the +3 on Kansas State at circa, I know that already got hit a little bit. That's awesome. So Iowa and Nebraska total wise, I upped my power numbers here a little bit on this one for the total, but it looks like so did Vegas. All right. UTEP, UAB showing 12.5, 14, 16, kind of all over the board here. That's a no play for me on the side, and the total is also a no play. North Carolina, NC State. I know we got a question in the chat about this. How do you handle Sam Howell, for that? I don't. I think he's in. I think they rested him against the FCS team they played. But if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. All right. North Carolina, NC State. Let's go ahead and take a look at the line here. 6.5, 7.5. That's a no play for me. I would play NC State at 4 better. With UNC, I do kind of want that 10 because I feel like their defense really is that bad at times. All right, next one, Missouri and Arkansas. Obviously, a huge game for both teams. I'm going to go ahead and play I'm going to play the 15 points there with Missouri. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but Missouri's defense is legitimately improved in the last couple of weeks. I thought their interior defensive line was pretty damn good against Georgia, to be honest. Now, maybe it didn't show up on the scoreboard, but they also gave Florida some trouble yesterday. Obviously, Florida just fired their coach. Check out our instant reaction video of that in our YouTube feed. Really appreciate you guys checking that out. So USF and UCF showing 18s, 19s. Nothing for me there on the side. For the total on that one, 63.5. I don't want any part of that either. Coastal South Alabama, looking for nothing I could find there and nothing on the total. Next game, UNLV Air Force. These lines are fairly tight this week, actually. UNLV Air Force, 47.5, 50, 50.5, 51.5 I'm showing right now. And 17.5, 18.5 is the range. So nothing there on the side. I do think the under, though, under 50 is definitely worth a look in that one. Excuse me, guys. Nice. Okay. Is 207 Notre Dame? No, I think that's just a mistake. I would hit Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's backups could embarrass Stanford, and Notre Dame needs all the style points in the world. Like they have to empty the clip this week for that. So definitely going to hit Notre Dame there. All right, TCU and Iowa State is the next one, and I'm just going to go ahead and play TCU here. 16 points at DraftKings for me with TCU. Iowa State, kind of disappointing season there. I'm also going to play the under 59. All right, next one here, Washington State and Washington. No bet for me on the side. I thought about hitting the total here, but it might continue to come down. Colorado and Utah. I think that's a pretty good number, actually. Like Vegas set that pretty well. Colorado yesterday was a flukish win, to be frank. So anyway, on the total for that game, though, 52.5 is my buy point to the under. So I will take the under 52.5 in that game. All right. Next one here. Ohio State and Michigan, kind of a little small game. I want Ohio State at basically a field goal or Michigan at 10. Not going to get either side here. I will probably live trade this game, so I'm going to have it on my TV this weekend, but just that's not a game I really want to attack. Michigan has the ability, I think, to get some pressure on Ohio State right now. We'll see if Michigan's offense can do what it needs to do. The total, though, is something I want to attack in this game. Seeing 63s, 64s out there. Guys, I think that's a fairly solid under bet, in my opinion. I have a feeling that part of what we saw yesterday with Michigan State was Michigan State being just absolutely crazy, you know, um, injured. Larry Pilgrim asks in the chat, what was the spread on Utah, Colorado? It's 23. If it got to like 27, I might bet Colorado, but Colorado's offense is just really, really pretty sad right now. Army Liberty is absolutely a bet for me right now. I'm going to go ahead and play Army plus the 4. That's just, I think Army should be favored in that game. Liberty is not a very good team at all. Like they got crushed yesterday in a game where there was really no reason for them to get crushed. Also going to play the under 55.5 in that ball game. So under 55.5 and plus 4 with Army, I would play that all the way down. Honestly, to a pick 'em makes me think I'm kind of missing something, but I'm still going to play it. If you're asking questions that I already talked about, again, I stay in rotation number order here. So Luke Walker in the chat, just go and scroll back. We're on 149 right now, which is Vandy in Tennessee. Again, if you got my email list, you've already seen this. That's 1 point off from a play for me, so I'm going to pass on that. I would play Tennessee at 30. Josh Heupel, I learned my lesson yesterday. He's one of these Baylor style coaches where if you play a patsy, he wants to run it up on you pretty good. So, yeah, and it's also probably good for in-state recruiting to the extent those guys go against each other, which is not that much. Miami Duke, nothing there for me with 21.5. 68 is the total. I think that's a well-set total. I've been betting over on Duke for weeks and cashing them. Same thing with Miami, but Vegas has absolutely caught up to us here. So not going to be betting anything there. 153, Troy and Georgia State. Kind of a funky one for me. Troy could go to a bowl game. I also think Troy has a bit of a quit factor in them because, are they really going to keep Chip Lindsey? We will see. However, when that comes out, I'm not gonna give that out. There's only one book that has it, but if that total is in the 40s, I'm gonna play the over on that total. Troy's defense yesterday, pretty suspect. Cincinnati and East Carolina, 13, 16, 58.5. I'm seeing, okay, nothing there for me on the side. However, I do think that an underplay here is probably worth a look at 58.5. That's about the last point I'd buy that. I'm going to put that in as a play. Just want to let you guys know, like if Cincinnati gets up, they might need some style points, but they also have Houston on deck. So it's kind of one of these weird balancing acts, right? You got to think about it. Okay, why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? You guys see my point there? Like how it's a little bit tough to make some of these spreads. Alex H in the chat is seeing 49.5 as the total for Troy. Is that, where's that fan? Okay, yeah, we will go ahead and put 49.5 in as a play in this one. Cool. All right. Pitt, Syracuse. Let's go to the next one. We are on, what are we on? Yeah, Pitt, Syracuse. We're at 155 here, guys. Rotation number 155. Pitt has the championship game on deck here, and Syracuse is playing for, they're playing for their bowl life. It's a home game at least. Anyway, not super sophisticated analysis there by me. Anyway, 58.5 is the total. Probably fine. 11 is the side. Nothing for me there. Wake Forest and Boston College. Go ahead and give me BC plus the 5. Screw it. I mean, BC can score on Wake. Wake can score on BC. Total here, 64.5. It's about 1 point away from a bet for me. So, anyway, that's if that drops down to 63.5, I will take the over on that one. We got a lot of games this week, guys. We got to hurry in order to get this show in. So you guys can scroll back and forth. Let's go 163, West Virginia and Kansas. That is a no play for me at 15.5. That's almost exactly the number that I actually made this. So certainly no value there. However, I will be playing an under in a Kansas game again, under 55.5 for West Virginia and Kansas. Guys, I don't think that offense is really any good. I think that was mostly just like Texas dysfunction, and I don't think West Virginia's offense is really all that good either. The one unit in this game that I actually trust is that Mountaineer defense. All right, let's go to the next one here. We have Kentucky and Louisville. Absolutely playing Louisville -1. Louisville's a better team than Kentucky is. So they are. Kentucky's not that good. Houston at UC, or at least not per my numbers. I think Louisville has the far better quarterback. Cool. Let's go ahead and go to the next one here. By the way, I got my voice back a little this week. It's kind of nice as opposed to last week, although it did have a winning week. So whoever in the chat said that was a flu game, you're right. All right. Houston, UConn. Houston has the AAC championship game on deck here. So obviously something to consider. This is 167. Spread for this game is 32.5. That's fine. I'm not taking anything on that. The total on this thing is interesting. 57.5 is only about a point away from where I want to take this. So, I mean, if you guys want to jump me, that's fine. I'll probably end up betting the under there, but I'm just not doing it live on the show because I know what numbers I sent in to my guy and he understands what I want bought and when. All right, Kentucky. We already did Kentucky, Louisville. Shoot. Maryland, Rutgers, 169. Maryland is favored by 2 points. Don't care. I'll basically take anybody at 3.5 or better in this game as the underdog. We'll see if that gets there. My suspicion is that it does not. If the total for some reason went up, okay. Rutgers is playing Wimsatt, the quarterback who graduated high school early. Now that he's not eligible to burn his red shirt, and I don't think he's any good personally. So, yeah. Do with that what you will. I've also been fading Maryland at times with totals this year to some success, especially in October. All right, Georgia Tech, 35 is the spread. I would buy Georgia Tech at 38.5. Total is 53.5. No bet for me there. Indiana, Purdue. Indiana absolutely on quit watch here in this ball game. Purdue would love to run it up on a rival. Total of 50.5. No bet for me on that. Vatek and Virginia showing 8 and 62, 63.5. No bet for me there. Both those teams can score a little bit. I do think a total in the 60s is warranted. Northwestern Illinois. I'm going to go ahead and bet Illinois and lay 6.5 points with Brett Bielema's team. And I don't say that comfortably, but I say that because Northwestern is hot garbage. So maybe Pat Fitzgerald will clip this, but they suck. And they have one of the worst offenses in the country for the second time in the last 3 years. Okay. Akron Toledo is the next game on the board. Akron may be a quit factor team after you saw what they did against Kent State. However, the number here has been adjusted appropriately for that. It is 28.5. Total, however, is 54. Toledo is not a high scoring team. Neither is Akron. Excuse me, total is 58.5, not 54. The last number I would buy here is 54. So a lot of 58s out there right now. I would go ahead and take that under 58.5 if I were you. Cool. Texas Tech and Baylor is the next one up. Both of these teams on a backup quarterback, most likely. I'm going to go ahead and take the points here. Did you watch Baylor's offense last night? I did, and it looked terrible. They had a turn, like they got the ball deep in Kansas State territory on a turnover and then also on a fumbled punt. I have no confidence. So 14.5. Actually, no, screw it. 15. Give me 15 there for Texas Tech. And I think there's also an under to be played here at 54. The last number I'd play is 53.5 because Texas Tech has scored at times. But like, is Bohannon going to be back? And even if he is, Bohannon's not that good. You know? All right. Go ahead and look here as well. Here's what I'm going to take. I'm going to jump out of rotation number order real quickly for you all. Thanks to my buddy Nick for alerting me to this. Going to play Oklahoma plus the 3.5. Caesars has that. So does, I think, Circa at this point. Oklahoma plus 3.5 to me is absolutely what we need to be on here. That is rotation number order 211. So 211 for that. It seems like they've kind of caught on to these Oklahoma totals and they dropped it down to a 51 this year or this week. Wisconsin and Minnesota, 38.5 the total. The spread of 6. No play for me there at all. Miami, Ohio, and Kent State. I'm going to play Miami, Ohio as a dog here. I think they have the better quarterback. I don't know. I don't see it with Kent State necessarily. Maybe I'll be wrong there, but go ahead and give me Miami, Ohio plus the 2.5 points there in that ball game. Nothing for the total for me. All right, the next one is just an absolute hold your nose and bet it. I'm going to be playing Louisiana Tech -3. I don't even want to. I adjusted the hell out of this thing. I really like, but if you give me -3, I'm going to go ahead and take it. So screw it. That's literally, I thought this would be a total stay away game, but go ahead and give me La Tech minus the 3 there, 187. 189, UTSA and North Texas. We have UTSA -11, 60 and 61. No play for me on that. UTSA has a lookover spot with probably Western Kentucky or Marshall on deck, right? And nothing for me on the total there in that one. Let's go 191, Arizona and Arizona State. Interesting here. Arizona State is favored by 20.5 points. All right. That's fine. By the way, if you got my sheet, obviously I had a transposing error where I made Arizona 13-point favorite in Arizona State. So, occasionally make a mistake, not very many. But yeah, apologies there. If you see that again, like my note says, use common sense and don't bet Arizona as a 13-point favorite. That would be a little wacky. Anyway, the total in that game is 53. That's probably a pretty well-made total. Hat tip to those guys out there. But Charlotte and Old Dominion is the next one on my list, 193, showing 10.5 for Charlotte Old Dominion and 55, 56. I'm going to go ahead and bet Charlotte here. I think it's a bit of an overreaction. I've actually moved up Old Dominion quite a bit in my power ratings, and yet 10.5 seems like a large number to cover for for those guys. Let me see here. DK is live if you're in a jurisdiction like mine. Yeah. Cool. Let's go ahead and run down some more of these. Again, not perfect, just trying to be, profitable on a consistent basis. UMass and New Mexico State. I mean, why is New Mexico State favored? I know UMass lost to, I know they lost to Maine, but Maine's a pretty good FCS team. I don't know. Am I off on this? Why? Maybe I'm missing something here. Obviously, I bet against UMass because they were missing a whole bunch of starters last week. Go ahead and give me the 6 points there with the Minutemen. Total wise in this game, no play for me. Fairly close to an overplay. I don't think either of these defenses are really worth a damn. Georgia Southern and App State is next. Georgia Southern, I think, has some quit factor potential here, obviously, with, they have a new coach, but yeah. Anyway, 55 the total, no play for me on that. BYU USC, no play for me there at the 7.5. I am probably going to play an alt total on this game. You'll probably find like a 10.5 plus 215-ish, I would think, so whatever. But I'm not really in a hurry to lay 7.5. That's probably an alt total game for me based on USC quitting. BYU's defense is not that good. So if USC does come to play on offense, they can score enough points there. I'd rather bet on the high variance and go with the alt total there, even though I'm giving away a little bit of juice. All right, Cal UCLA, 7 and 58. No play for me there on that one. Oregon State, Oregon showing 7s and 64. I will go ahead and bet something in this game, though. You probably know what it is. I will go ahead and bet. I'm going to bet an under in this game. Under 64 for me here is what I like because both these teams run the heck out of the ball, and neither of these teams are like hit explosive plays in any way. All right. FIU and Southern Miss. So on the sheet, I made my buy point 8. After thinking about it more, I'm actually going to go ahead and play the 9.5 here with Southern Miss. I know Southern Miss is like terrible, but FIU seems to have legitimately quit. North Texas beat them like a drum yesterday, and Southern Miss, they won a ball game and they're playing hard. They're on a little more rest. I just can't imagine that FIU. Anyway, like if you got 10 or better here, I think you just go ahead and take that because you're probably not getting. Well, you'll get some places will post an alt total. A lot of them will not. The other thing here, if you find the total on this at 44, I think that's worth a pop. I would not play the 45. The issue is is FIU going to score? Because if FIU can get to 10, I think Southern Miss can get to 40 something, right? Maybe. Sam Johnson says 5-1 last week. Thanks for the help. No problem there. Yeah, I really like the little community we're building. We already hit Notre Dame, Stanford again. That was to lead off the show. That thing has moved a little bit. Again, I would play that to 21. I think Stanford is like absolutely a quit factor team here, which is kind of crazy to say, but at least their defense. I mean, they are playing such piss poor defense right now. That's in my opinion. Tulsa SMU is next on the sheet. That's 213. Tulsa SMU 62.5 and 62. Nothing there for the total side of 6-7. Nothing really for me there. Bama Auburn, one that you guys have probably all been waiting for. If I get 20, I'll probably take Auburn. I don't really trust Bama to lay 20 points on the road when it has Georgia on deck against an Auburn defense that's not that bad. So I just wonder if this is going to steam. You know what I mean? It opened 19, but some people opened at 21 and they got knocked down. I'm showing 19s right now. You guys see any 20s right there? Unless I'm missing something. Caesars may have a 20 at this point. Nice. Cool. All right. Let's go ahead and just we'll put a pin in that one. I'm going to X that. That's pretty close to a bet. Tulane and Memphis. I can't believe I'm going to be betting Auburn, but whatever. Nothing on the total there for that one. Tulane and Memphis. I think Memphis here -5.5 or -6 is worth a shot. Memphis is playing for a chance to go to a bowl. They probably should have already been made a bowl if Parrish didn't have to play because Hennigan got hurt this year. And I also think this is a really great shot for us to bet another Tulane over because Tulane plays nothing but crazy pants games, and for some reason they're back to lining these games in the 50s. So anyway, I could see this game being 38-28. Anyway, yeah, 5.5 and over. Almost certainly a team total. Memphis coming for me later in this game. 12.5, 11 are the lines for Clemson. I really want 10 or better. I trust Clemson's defense. I think South Carolina is kind of fraudulent, and that's coming from a guy who bet them over in this game, bet them over on the season. And they got there pretty easily. 41 and 50.5 are the totals there, and nothing for me. If the total dropped down to 41, obviously I would take it. My buy points are 41 and 50.5. Current total is 42.5. Western Kentucky and Marshall. Interesting here as a pick 'em. That's about what I make that game. I think that's probably pretty fair. I am going to bet an under here. Going to bet under 76 in Western Kentucky and Marshall. That's not a huge value. I'm only seeing about 2 points of value per my buy point. Alex Simon asking, would you think the Clemson offense has looked good enough to trust them more? I've bet Clemson 4 weeks in a row. Just what I've been doing. You know, I'm a believer enough in their offense, but I'm really a believer in their defense. Dominic, I don't know if you just heard me. I'm betting under 76 in that Western Kentucky Marshall game. So I think FAU has a little quit factor in them. Here's a game that I put some crazy buy points on. I want Penn State +3 or Michigan State +7. I don't know, guys. I really don't. Penn State, quarterback injury, a couple other injuries going on. Michigan State, like wrecked by injury. If you saw them yesterday, they're missing 2 offensive linemen. Best D lineman, one of their better linebackers in a huge knee brace. They got a couple guys out in secondary. 2 of their top receivers may be out. Kenneth Walker, a little banged up as well. I want nothing to do with that game pregame. I'll probably bet it live after I watch a series or 2, assuming I watch it. It may not be the prettiest game. All right, so Florida State and Florida. Going to pass on this. The line is all the way down to -1. That's pretty wild. I don't think Florida State is going to close a big favorite here, but Florida State should be able to really knock around Florida with its defensive line. The issue for me is going to be Darius Washington. Darius Washington, as you guys know, if you've watched this show, if you watch Cover 3 at all, FSU is razor thin on the offensive line. Their starters aren't that bad. Full credit to Coach Alex Atkins there, who's done a really nice job with that unit this year. I think they're on their way back to respectability via recruiting, you know. But no. If he's out, they don't have a capable backup. And Florida yesterday abused Missouri's backup right tackle. So that scares me. I'll wait until pregame warmups and then bet this thing. Anyway, I've already adjusted it down quite a bit. Let's also address this real quick. This is from CRAD. It says initially -10. I want to clue you guys in on something. That's not true. If you want to figure out which media members understand gambling and which don't, go look for everybody that was pimping -10 for this game, because they're citing something from Vegas Insider or one of these aggregators. They're not going to the actual book to look at it. And that number was a look-ahead line in this game with very low limits that was posted last Friday. So they're seeing what these aggregators have for these couple game of the year type look-ahead lines that were available Friday, and they're citing it today. +10 was not available today to anybody that I know. If you guys got it, post the ticket. But I'm pretty sure they were not hanging 10 today with that. That's just me, but I'm fairly certain that was not available. Anyway, just a good way to know. Pay attention to people who understand gambling. Chris Felica gets it. I think there's some other guys out there who get it. That's not a real thing. If something seems too good to be true, it probably is. Unless it's midsummer and you're just getting some awesome value for preseason stuff, which we do on the email list. So, budelliotcfb@gmail.com. All right. Yeah. Cole Friel said, seeing people pimp that +10. Yeah, exactly. Guys, it's just not a thing. That's not real. And to run with that and just blindly tweet it, what are we doing? Gambling is becoming a bigger part of American sports. To not understand it is kind of inexcusable, All right, Texas A&M LSU. Did I say a total for Memphis? Yes. What did I say? What did I get on Memphis? 57.5 for Memphis Tulane. I'd probably bet 58 as well. Cool. Sorry for the little mini rant there. I thought that was kind of funny. Texas A&M LSU. I want to bet A&M at 5 or LSU at 13. Not going to get either of those most likely. Total in this game, 46, 45.5. So my buy point actually here is 45.5. I will go ahead and take the over 45.5 in this game. And that's, I mean, I've adjusted LSU's defense considerably. I think they've been playing well. I've adjusted LSU's offense down. I'm still going to play over a total of 45.5 in a game like this because crazy stuff can happen. A lot of athletes on the field. I just think the total should be more like 48, 49. So 45.5 is my last buy point on that game, by the way. All right, let's go ahead and go to another one here. Let's go ULM, Louisiana. Exciting game here, right? Line is 21.5 right now, so that's not something I'm going to be betting. If it got down to 20, I would take Louisiana, I think. Louisiana has the Sun Belt Championship game on deck, so got to pay attention to that. And I did adjust for a bit of a look-ahead factor there. Not a huge look-ahead factor guy in the season, but obviously, you know, I mean, you got a conference championship game on right now. So you got to be aware of that kind of stuff. ULM, Louisiana, again, total-wise in that ball game, 54-55. I think that's probably about right, so no bet there. Texas State, Arkansas State. Texas State, I think, has some quit factor in them. Arkansas State comes out as a 1-point favorite. I'm going to read a little more on this. Arkansas State looked terrible yesterday, and that was with Georgia State having guys in its secondary out with the flu. So concerning there that they could throw that many interceptions in opponent territory and that they would just move the ball as poorly as they did. But I think Texas State does have some quit factor. Total in that ball game, 64.5, 61.5. If it dips down a lot, I'll bet an over at like a 61, but I'm not seeing that right now. Just letting you guys know. Middle Tennessee State, Florida Atlantic, 3 and 4 are the lines right now. I'll take Middle Tennessee at 7. If the line flipped or something, like if I guess the only thing I would flip it this much would be like if Tacker got fired. I don't think it's going to happen this week. But I would take FAU as a 3-point dog. I don't trust either of these teams at all, man. Just at all at this point. However, I will bet an over in this game. Over at 49.5. I project 54.5, so I would bet 50. I might even bet a little bit at 50.5 if you guys are into that. Alex H says ULM had some chances in the red zone. Yeah, that's true. All right. Nevada, Colorado State, 6.5, 5, 55.5. I think that line's about right. Somebody suggested a Colorado State first half play because Nevada doesn't really have anything to play for right now, allegedly. I can maybe see that. Anyway, that's about what I got for this week, guys. I'll take questions for a couple minutes here, and then I got to do some texting. Wow. I don't know if you guys have seen this or not, but Jonathan Taylor, pretty good day in fantasy football. 5 touchdowns. Okay. My team, meanwhile, is projected to score 145. Pretty good day in our league. And I'm projected to lose because the guy I'm playing has Jalen Waddle, Jalen Hurts, Devontae Adams, Mike Gesicki, Nick Chubb. I don't know if I've mentioned this. Well, actually, I'm pretty sure I have. I am allowing 78 more points than anybody in my league this year through 10 games. It's kind of hard to do. No defense for Team Bud in fantasy. Would you bet make playoff or national title? I mean, I'd bet anything depending on the price. What do we see prices right now anywhere? If you guys see prices, let me know. Would you take an Army money line right now? Yeah, I think Army wins the game. Next question here. This is kind of interesting from Mango Man. How do you value a 10-win season for a program like Pitt? Is it worth resting starters for the championship game or play everyone and get to 10 wins? No, I don't think they're going to rest starters and like just throw the game. Obviously, my thought was if they're up decently, are they really letting Pickett drop back and chuck the ball all around? That's kind of my concern there. You know? All right. Did you do Missouri and Arkansas? I did actually, guys. Yeah. Um, so I bet Arkansas, or excuse me, I bet Missouri at 15, and we passed on the total. So Sam Johnson asked, you talk very specifically about the performance of a lot of teams. How much of that is you actually watching them? How much of that is purely looking at stats analytics? So I watch a bunch of games rather on Saturdays, and then Monday mornings. My schedule is fairly clear, honestly, because 24/7 is a Central Time company. So I have a couple hours um, to go through games, right, and figure out kind of what happened. I like to start with the box score, and then I try to look for things that are funky. Like that doesn't make sense. I need to go watch that game and figure out. YouTube TV, by the way, has a pretty good feature called like big plays or key plays or whatever it is, and so you can watch a condensed game with the biggest plays out there and just scroll through them to see right um, what happened. I like to take the plays that change the winning percentage in the game or the absolute EPA from whatever site you want to use on that. I think Stats Award does a good job if you want to check that out. Um, and I want to kind of cross them off, right? So I'll print it out, old school. I'll cross them off and figure out what happened. And I want to make sure, like, all right, the plays that swung the game, how fluky was it, right? Or was it real? That's kind of my process, you know. Some stuff here. Ohio State plus 300 at an offshore. So when you think about it, what's Ohio State going to be? Obviously, they're 7.5 right now, 8 against Michigan. Would they be against Wisconsin? Neutral site. I think they'll if Wisconsin makes it through, I think they're probably like 10 against Wisconsin, maybe 11. So you got a parlay here essentially of Ohio State 8 Wisconsin or 8 Michigan, 10 or 11 Wisconsin. Who do they get in the first round? Do they somehow luck out and get Cincinnati? Or are they going to have to play like a Bama or whoever comes out of the Big 12 or an improved Notre Dame team? Because I think they're probably 2 touchdowns against Cincinnati. Cincinnati, I don't think can score with them. Oklahoma, I think they're, I don't know, 11, 12. Notre Dame, kind of similar, right? And then against Georgia, what are they? Plus 2.5, plus maybe plus 3, probably plus 2, I think. I don't know. Like, does that add up to plus 300? I need to run it. I need to run it through a sim right now, but I don't. If you just thought about the money line value there, that's kind of a good way to break that down. Unless you think the money lines are going to be much higher, which I think you probably need to account for the fact that if Ohio State does run the table and get in, maybe those spreads will be a point or two higher as their power rating continues to improve. Josh Goodson says Oklahoma at 40-1 at Bet Online to win the college football playoff. Two wins in games which they'll be favored. They're not actually favored against Oklahoma State, so that's notable. At least not in Bedlam. I don't know. Holden Collenberg says Ohio State was 16 against Whiskey in 2019. This Wisconsin team's a lot worse, and Ohio State is better, FYI. Yeah, I mean, how much better is Michigan than this Wisconsin team right now? Because if you think about it, they would be probably, 10.5 neutral? I have Michigan rated, where's this at? I have Michigan rated 2.2 better than Wisconsin right now. So, but wasn't Ohio State's defense better in 2019 than this Ohio State defense? This is an important factor to consider, right? How good is this Ohio State defense that you're betting on? Are there any leans you're already thinking about for championship weekend? Not really, because I want to see what happens this weekend, and I want to see what happens with injuries. How much weight do you place on Louisville playing and beating FSU and Boston College without their better quarterbacks? It's a good point. I think you got to downgrade them slightly, but in their recent performances, they also smoked a UCF team, not smoked, but they beat a UCF team with Dylan Gabriel. And, they played Clemson toe-to-toe, which I rate them pretty highly for, and moved the ball on Clemson. What's the team you've lost the most money on this season? Probably Old Dominion, right? Because I was pretty heavy on them under 4.5 wins, and they got to 5 with a damn week to go. Thanks, Conference USA, for collapsing all around me. So yeah, I'd say that probably. All right, we've gone 45 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and bounce, guys. Really appreciate everybody checking us out. Again, if you want more, BudElliottCFB@gmail.com. Just shoot me an email. I did a list, and I will talk to you all next time. Take care.